to day 2 of My Dog is My Home's Co-Sheltering Conference 2023. I'd like to invite Shoshana Mostoller, one of My Dog is My Home's wonderful and committed volunteers, to join the Zoom spotlight. Welcome, Shoshana. Shoshana is dedicated to helping people and pets stay together by providing support for families in crisis. She began her animal welfare career as the program director and then the executive director of an animal shelter in Illinois. Seeing people's heartache as they struggle to keep their pets led Shoshana to her current role as the community engagement manager for the Chesapeake Humane Society in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia. Her role includes managing the shelter's community outreach and Stronger Together crisis boarding program. Shoshana received her master's degree in social work from Virginia Commonwealth University and is currently working towards her postgraduate certification in veterinary social work from the University of Tennessee. Shoshana swims in the ocean all year long and enjoys hiking and kayaking with her husband and her dogs. She's the mother of 3 adult children who are required to live in places that she likes to visit. Thank you for being a part of the team, Shoshana. I'll have you take it from here.
Thank you, Christine. I'm really pleased to be here today and to have the opportunity to support our conference storytellers. I am going to describe myself for any participants with visual disabilities. I'm a Caucasian woman with wavy brown hair, brown eyes, and wearing reading glasses, a black shirt, and a gray sweater. I'd also like to take this time to remind people that you can put any questions that you have for Sandra in our question and answer section on Whova. And now I would like to invite our storyteller, Sandra, to join me. Hi, how are you?
Hello, good. How's everybody?
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us and for being willing to share your story today. And so I have a few questions that I'll use to start us off.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first question is just if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are now. Let's start with with where you are currently.
I am a resident of Portsmouth, Virginia, and I am a patient register at an emergency. I work in the emergency room for Barn Secure Hospitals. I have my Phoenix with me. I stay in an apartment in Portsmouth, and right now I just made a recent transition in October. I switched over from a stressful job. I was a corrections officer and a counselor at a St. Bride's correctional facility. So right now where I'm at is a little bit more calm, a little bit more peaceful for me. So that's what I'm currently doing right now, and I really, really love it.
Oh, wonderful. So can you tell us just a little bit about your journey leading up to where you are today? So a little bit about what led to your homelessness and what that looked like for you.
Yes. About during the COVID era, everybody was down and going through some hard times, and I fell behind where I was staying at in my townhome with my mother, and we basically got a 20-day notice that we had to get out, and they weren't going to renew the lease. There was nothing we could do. So it was me, my tabby cat Phoenix, and my mom. And thankfully, I have an older sister that reached out, and I was able to stay with her. But it was not a safe place for my Phoenix. It wasn't a safe shelter for her. My sister has a lot going on with kids with autism and sensory and auditory things, and we just didn't want to bring that into the mix. So there's actually a couple of nights where me and Phoenix stayed in my car because I just didn't want to, I couldn't leave her. So this coincides with the time I started working at St. Bride's as a corrections officer too, because I needed to get some kind of income coming in. I had lost my job from COVID. So I had to keep this job, even though it was stressful. It was the only form of income I had coming in, trying to save for a place. So I had put her into pet suites for a while, and it ended up being so expensive. It was like $400 a week. I think I was paying all in the transition while trying to find a place to live, trying to save money. Some nights just sleeping in the car because I was too tired to even try to drive back home. And anyway, one week came up and Pet Suites was like, your bills coming due, and it was like $400 and something. And I was just like, and I parked at the pet suite at the 7-Eleven behind the pet suite because I just didn't have the money. And I just started crying. I didn't know what to do. I missed my cat. I was already depressed without having Phoenix. And I just started crying. And I had to take a knee or take a breath. And I was like, Lord, what am I going to do? I need to get my Phoenix. And I just started looking, and this angel, Shoshana, I had filled something out, and she called me back, and I guess it was like an emergency boarding. And she called me back, like, I think it was that same day. And I was trying to hold back tears. She was so helpful for me. And I was like, all I have is like $140. I'm trying to get, Phoenix. I don't want to lose her. I'm trying to get her out of this pet suite thing. I was just a wreck. But her voice was so calming and reassuring, and she was so helpful to help me try to pull it together. And she was able to help me get Phoenix out of pet suites. And I was so grateful. Like, I don't even have words. The feeling that came over me, just knowing that I was able to get her out of there. And then she was going to help me try to get emergency, boarding and somewhere safe for Phoenix to be, somewhere where she was comfortable, at least for the time being. And, while I was in transition of trying to, somehow getting dressed out of the car, it's just, the homelessness is something that we try to stay positive with, because we know we're going to see better days, but it's just a lot to take on. So, trying to keep her and shuffle through trying to find a place to live was a lot. So Shoshana was really a godsend at that moment, because I did not know what I was going to do if it was not for her.
Can you tell us a little bit about, so when you got Phoenix out of, and I'm totally leaving my questions, so we'll get back to that, but when you got Phoenix out of the pet suites and into the crisis boarding program that was able to house Phoenix temporarily for you, can you tell us the story about you sitting in the car with Phoenix and what that felt like when you were getting ready to put her into the boarding program?
Yeah, it was a bittersweet moment. I was happy that I got her out of pet suites, but then I had pulled up, to drop her off, and we were sitting in the parking lot, and I opened her carrier, and she walked out, and she climbed up to my lap, and Phoenix and I was holding her, and she just looked up at me, and she likes to put her paw on my cheek, and she just looked up at me like she was telling me it wasn't my fault. She wasn't mad at me. Like, she knew it was going to be okay, but I felt so bad at the time. But when she did that, it just gave me like a sense of comfort. It's like she knew that I was going to see her again, and that this was temporary. She is, very calm. But in that moment in the parking lot just made me feel a little bit more better that she did that, because it was like I was connecting with her without even speaking, and she knew it was just going to be something that was temporary. Sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. So tell us a little bit about when you got Phoenix, and also about just her personality and what she means to you.
The first day I got Phoenix, she was a birthday gift for me back in 2017, where I was living in Maryland with my mom. And I told my mom, I was like, I think I want to get a cat because they're very comforting. And I had a situation with a friend I had where she had a cat, and I was having a really bad day. And the cat just came up to me, and Princess, she put her chin on my knee, like she knew I was having a bad day. And she just sat there with me. And I wanted that relationship again. It was very, very comforting and soothing. So we went to the Humane Society in Maryland, and and we were looking around, and I was like, I don't see, I was meeting with the cats, sitting with the cats, trying to visit with them to get to know them. And I was like, I don't really see anything, a cat or anything here that I'm connecting with. And we had looked up at the end of the hallway. One of the volunteers said, well, we have a female, and she's the last one left out of her litter. All her brothers and sisters had got adopted that day. So we look up, and their Phoenix she was like 12 weeks old, so cute, this little gray fur bundle in the corner. And we just walked down, and when she opened up the cage that she was in, Phoenix just kind of came out into my hands, and I was like, okay, we don't need to look anymore. Like, this is it. Like, she chose us, and we left with her that day.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about is how you feel like it would have affected your life had you not been able to keep Phoenix.
Oh man, that right there. I can't even have the words. Like, it caused me so much pain and sorrow in my heart when I was thinking about that question. I think it definitely would have took me to a dark place, because Phoenix is my therapy. Like, she is my emotional support. When it's like we have a connection, and like I'm sitting here like I'm really talking to my cat, but I feel like that emotional connection with her, and we understand each other. And I really, really would have thought, I really believe that it would have took me a while to come out of not being able to remain with Phoenix, and just because I love her so much. She's like my baby. And just a lot of pain and sorrow if I would not have been able to reconnect and keep Phoenix. It would have been very detrimental for me, very, very sad.
Do you remember the day when you came to pick Phoenix up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how that felt when we brought Phoenix back out to you?
I'm sorry, say that one more time. Take it out of here.
I'm wondering if you remember the day. I remember the day like it was yesterday when you came to pick Phoenix up, and when we brought Phoenix out to you. And I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that felt like to be reunited with her.
Oh my gosh. I felt like a kid on Christmas that came downstairs, and just all the gifts were just for me and everything I could ever want. When I walked into there to get Phoenix, I feel like I was walking on air, like going through just, just the steps it took to get to that point, to actually be able to get and create a safe place for her to come home, and to actually be walking through the doors that day to get Phoenix. I was elated. It was a magical time for me. And when the volunteer brought her into the room, I just took her out of the crate so fast and just held her there for a while, because I was just so happy to see her. And I just closed my eyes and just cradled her and just rocked with her. I felt amazing. And I was so emotional. I was crying tears of joy, because, it was like I was reunited with Phoenix. I was so excited to take her home and show her the new apartment that she was going to have to live in, that she can run around and just, claim everything in. I said, it was just definitely a magical day. And again, I just thank you to you, Shoshana, so much, because I don't know where I would have been. It would have been a definitely different story. Definitely.
If anyone wants to see, by the way, the picture of Sandra with Phoenix when we reunited them, that is in the photos on the Whova app, and it's just a beautiful picture. It always makes me smile. So if anyone wants to check that out, it is on there. So at one point when we were talking, you had mentioned, like, in plans for the future, that you would like to foster for a program like this, just for your own, sense of feeling like you can give back. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that, and then also just about your plans for the future.
Yeah, goal I'm working towards now is actually saving for my house. Just the connection that I have with Phoenix, and knowing that there were so many people that helped me be able to keep her. I want to give that back. I want to be able to be involved into, if I needed to foster some animals, a cat, if something, a dog, whatever if a person going through what I was going through at the time, it just was not able to physically have their friend at that moment, I would want to be a vessel to be able to foster an animal for them. Just know that they can have a safe place to be in, and to know that they're going to get reunited with them, because it gave me such peace of mind knowing she was in a safe place. And that's something that I'm working to be involved in, because it gives me such joy too, because like I said, our pets are part of us, she's my family. She helps me mentally when I'm having a bad day. I connect with her emotionally. And I know a lot of other people do too with their pets. They're part of our family. And I want to be able to keep people connected with their family.
I love that. I love that so much. Can you talk a little bit about Phoenix's name and what her name means to you? Why you named her Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix. Well, when I got her, they had named her Tacoma, and I was like, we're gonna change that. The name Phoenix to me always means the phoenix, to rise from the ashes and to start again. And that was what attached me to her name, because she has such a fiery attitude, and she was so playful, and that really what it means to me, because I definitely feel like we were burnt down to the ashes and we had to rise and start again to keep climbing out of that despair at the time I was living through. Sometimes you don't think you're going to make it out, but one day at a time, and I had to learn to reach out and to ask for help too. That's a big problem that I think me being in the working for the Department of Corrections, having a sense of authority, I had to learn too, sometimes it's okay to reach out when you have to ask for help. So I learned that through this journey as well. And that's why I attached Phoenix to my cat, because that's what that name means to me. It really carries that meaning.
I love that. And I love the point that you're making about how hard it can be, to how vulnerable it feels like to ask for help, I think, and how hard that can be. So thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering if you have any personal strengths that you think helped you through this process when you were in crisis, that made it more manageable for you.
I think for me, definitely my faith, and just the will to know that it's going to be, everything happens for a reason. And just that positivity, and having my mother for support was a big thing too. But just to try to stay positive, positive mindset helped a lot. Meditation helped a lot. Just trying to visualize myself where I'm working to be, and to not focus so much on the current situation and the negativity, because I've done that before, and that just takes me down, a bad rabbit hole. But just having that faith, and just the will to keep pushing, and to know that, if you put out good will come back. And that's just what I kept doing. I stayed positive. I kept working towards a goal. At times I was frustrated, depressed, but I just took a breath, meditated, prayed, whatever I needed to do to get myself through that moment.
Yeah, I love that. Before this, did you meditate, or was that a new thing that you started when all this was going on?
This was actually something new that I started because I didn't know how to cope. Like, I felt like everything was crashing down at one time. It was surreal. I couldn't focus on one thought. It was just chaos. I couldn't concentrate at work. So when we got put out, when I was homeless, that's when I had to learn to take a knee, and I really started seeing that meditation and taking a moment to clear my mind and push away the outside, or the inner circle, as we did the deep listening, and really listen to myself and focus and clear my mind, was a godsend, because that really helped me. And I definitely started doing that about that month when I was homeless, because it really helped me cope with everything, and I just continued it. It's been a godsend.
I love that. I'm wondering if you used any tools like to help you learn that, how to meditate, or how to find that peace within yourself.
What I did a lot of was self-help videos. Like, I would sometimes, if I wasn't sure how to start something, I would look it up on YouTube, or read like a pamphlet about it, and just try to make it my own and go from there. Did a lot of like reading and tutorial videos, and I kept at it. I made myself like, you need to do it at least 3 days a week starting out. But now I do it like every morning. I don't even think about it. It's just something that has attached it, because it really helps.
Okay, so I'm going to start. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think it is so impactful to listen to you talk, and so I'm really glad that it worked out for you to be able to keep Phoenix with you, and that you're in a stable place right now. That just makes me really happy to hear that. I'm going to start taking some questions. So I'm going to, anyone who wants to put questions either in question and answer section of Whova or in the chat, I'm going to look. I see we have one question waiting for us already that says, you have an audience of homeless services and animal welfare professionals and volunteers with you today. What do you want them to do better for others that are experiencing something similar to what you have experienced? Sandra, do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I muted myself? I'm sorry.
You want me to read it again for you?
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, for sure. It says, you have an audience of homeless services and animal welfare professionals and volunteers with you today. What do you want them to do better for others that are experiencing something similar to what you've experienced?
I think the one thing that I think can be improved, which is I'm seeing being worked on, is the social media outreach for because when I was looking to find how I found you, Shoshana, was very helpful, because I was researching, I was online, I was looking at different things, and everything was coming up. But when I was able to put it into a search, you popped up within like the first 2 searches. So that was very helpful to me. And I've been looking and seeing, like, my dog is my home, and I've been seeing more advertising and social outreach with this. So I think that is being worked on and should continue to be worked on. I think that's a great way to reach out, to people that are in need of these services.
Oh, that's wonderful. So that makes me wonder, when you reached out to us, had you reached out to other human service organizations first? And if so, what was that experience like, knowing that you had a pet and that it might be harder to find services?
There was I think one, I don't really remember the name then, but I mean, like, it was just there was no like application. Nobody got back to me. It was a pre-recording. I never got to speak with that actual human being. So, it was that uncertainty. So I'm like, are they going to call me back? Did it get it? Do they, I emailed it. I didn't hear anything back from the email. So I just kept looking. And then you were the actual human being that contacted me. So that was definitely very, very helpful.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. So that leads to another question that says, like, what was the single, and it can't, like, if there's something else, but the question is, what was the single most helpful thing that you experienced, or person that you experienced during homelessness? And I'm so glad that our organization was able to help you. But is there any other person who you feel like really stepped up? And it could even be, it doesn't have to be an organization. It could be a friend or a family member. You've mentioned how important your mom was. Like, who was a person who you felt really supported you during this time?
During this time, like I said, I always had my mom, but I felt like my brother was a great support too. I don't, he's in another state, but he was very supportive with just keeping in contact with me, checking on me, seeing how I was doing, making sure I was in a positive mindset, because he knew I was going through too, especially without being able to have Phoenix. So he was checking on me quite a bit to make sure I was okay. And he was very helpful during that time.
Oh, wonderful. Was if you met someone today, this is another question from the chat that I really love. And it's like, if you met someone today who was in the similar circumstance, what would be the first thing that you would advise them to do?
Definitely the first thing I would advise them to do is to reach out to any and all organizations. I would help them. Like, we we would find some. I would definitely recommend the organization to them. I would ask them first, what kind of pet do you have? Do you have a safe place for the pet right now, for yourself? But I'm definitely advise them, and just give them a helping hand and let them know that there's a safe place for your your loved one to go. And it's not a place where you got to pay $400 or $500 a week for them to stay. Like, if you really truly need this help and you don't have a safe place, I would definitely recommend these wonderful organizations that have come and definitely help people with their loved ones get a place for them.
Okay. I love that. I love that so much. And I think that you made a good point too, in that when you said that you would help them as well. I think sometimes, we give people resources and it's like, okay, call these places. But sometimes,
Right.
I think it is helpful to have that little bit of extra help of actually sitting with someone and doing that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And so I think you have a lot of, I'm just looking through the chat really quick and then we'll be finishing up, but you definitely have a lot of people who are saying thank you for sharing your story, and mentioning, how much it means to them to hear about what you shared. So I just thank you for being vulnerable with us today and sharing about what happened. And I know that we will all take something from this. For sure. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to wrap up and hand things back to Christine.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Sandra and Shoshana. Thank you, Sandra, for sharing your story and for joining us twice during this conference. We so appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to share.